Hi, my name is Mohamed bin Yusaini. For this presentation, me and my group will present to you guys about sexual harassment issues in the workplace for the subject MGT340 Human Resources. Sexual harassment is classified as sexual behavior that is impolite, embarrassing, or intimidating. It can come in the form of textual, conversational, or physical communication, and it can exist in person or via the internet. Anyone, regardless of sexual orientation, can be subjected to sexual harassment. Inappropriate touching, staring, or leering, inappropriate remarks or humor, explicit sexual images, slurs or taunts, centered on sex, sexually explicit human touch, contact are some examples of sexual harassment in the workplace that happen regularly. Regardless of the fact that both males and females are sexually harassed, the majority of victims are females. According to National Survey statistics, female victims are more likely to be younger, in lower level professions, mainly work with and may managed by a person of the opposite sex.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Faiz bin Alias from BA145D. So today, I will explain about the identification of the problem of sexual harassment. Okay, when we want to analyze the problem of sexual harassment, so we can focus on the 4W, which is the what, where, when, and why. Okay, for the first, what things can make a sexual harassment happen. So in the motivation dimension, the victim generate the variable that could serve as a motivator for the harasser are investigated. Harassment may be motivated, for example, by a victim's physical attractiveness. Okay, the second is the where the sexual harassment can be. So through the scene, the co-workers are less likely to witness the harassment in the working environment with a lot of privacy. They have a higher chance to get harassed. So that thing also can become the place the worker get harassment by the other workers or their bosses. So the third is the when. Sexual harassment can occur anywhere, including the work, school, and on the street. It's not all about the sex. It's about the harasser being the hostile to the victim or abusing power over her because of her gender. Okay, and the last is the why. Because of their actual or perceived gender expression or sexual orientation, people are the target of unwanted sexual comment, sexual gesture, and or sexual action. Okay, moving next. So the effect and impact of sexual harassment. Sexual harassment impact employee health. Psychological trauma from sexual harassment has a long-term consequence for a woman's health. Women who have been sexual harassment have almost threefold increase of their expressing and defensive symptoms. Second is sexual harassment can impact employee mental health. So according to the research, employees who witness workplace harassment are most likely to suffer from a psychological and physical distress, empathy for the victim, concern about the hostile workplace, and even fear of becoming the next victim of harassment were the driving force behind these mental and physical tools. Okay, the third is the sexual harassment impact employee productivity. Employee productivity suffer as a result of the toxic workplace. When an employee is subjected to a single act of sexual harassment or worse, or sustain a campaign of harassment, their productivity will suffer. Okay, the last but not least is sexual harassment can impact a brand. So according to research, when a potential customer witness or learn rudeness direct an employer in a workplace, they may form a negative generalization that makes less likely to purchase from the company. That's all.
There are many reasons which led to this cause. First one is disparity of power, because the most common source of sexual harassment claims is power differential in the workplace. In a number of instances, senior staff have been alleged of misusing their authority by sexually harassing and threatening people. Next, there is a culture of acceptance. In a carefree work environment, a wing-wing, not workplace culture that embraces an employee's unconventional but inappropriate behavior is typical. It's uncommon to have a corporate culture that accepts an employee's unusual but improper behavior.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Mohamed Ilham bin Roshdan from BA145D, and in this part of the video, I will continue with the discussion upon sexual harassment problem. One factor that leads to sexual harassment is when an employee is under a lot of stress, they will more likely to express their emotion to others. So at the heat of the moment, there will be verbal abuse, physical altercation, and also unwanted behaviors that can create harassment situations. Employees will be less stressed if the employers create a stress work-free environment and also teach them how to cope with stress. Another factor that leads to sexual harassment is the poorly managed procedures by the organization. As we all know, employees will receive a handbook that contains legal jargon to ensure the compliance with the law, and it can sometimes be difficult to be understood. They are usually reviewed once every year during the hiring orientation, and when the procedures and policies are not clearly stated, usually the rules are more likely to be broken. Therefore, organization must have policies in place that explain proper behaviors and zero tolerance policy for inappropriate behaviors. Besides that, sexual harassment can be a taboo topic to talk about in the workplace, and most offices only provide sexual harassment training once every year, and it is usually boring and forgettable. But this does not have to be the case. Complaints will be less frequent if you create a culture of accountability and awareness in the office through improved sexual harassment training. Consider making policy changes and also taking preventative measures to help manage the risk of sexual harassment. That's all from me. I will pass on to the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Taufeeq bin Farid and I'm from BA 1145D. And next I'm going to talk about existing solution for this case study. Okay, firstly, for the solution is dedicated efforts to avoid sexual harassment by addressing the underlying gender drivers. According to Change the Story in Malaysia, there should be a part of a comprehensive strategy to prevent violence against women and promote gender equality. A cohesive framework for the primary prevention of violence against women and their children has been developed. The second way is stronger and clearer legal requirements for employers to avoid sexual harassment at work, as well as strong and effective regulators with the entire range of regulatory powers and resources needed to successfully address sexual harassment as a cultural, systemic, and health and safety issue. Apart from this, employees should be educated, conduct employee training session at least once a year. Next is access to fair, effective, and efficient complaint processes is required, including a new right of action under the Fair Work Act, extended time limits, increased transparency of conciliation outcomes where appropriate, and other amendments and resources to address the unique barriers that currently prevent sexually harassed workers from taking effective legal action. After that, appropriate advocacy and help for workers who have been subjected to sexual harassment, including well-resourced and organized information, counseling, and legal services. Adopt a clear policy against sexual harassment. Every company should have a sexual harassment policy in your employee handbook. And lastly, accessible reporting tools, such as pilot program for an online reporting tool that helps individual report and address problem behavior and seek help, as well as identify trends to aid in prevention and enforcement activities.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mohamed Azmir Haikal bin Norazmi and I'm from BA 1145D. And now I will explain to you about the recommendation for this problem, which is our case study, sexual harassment. For the first solution is raising awareness. Raising awareness about sexual harassment can be one of the effective methods to prevent this problem, right? Those who are aware of potential harassing action are less likely to engage in such behavior and also most likely to notice any form of harassment. For example, giving a quiz about sexual harassment will assist employees in determining their perception of workplace in sexual harassment, right? For the second solution is we must have a clear reporting procedure. Every company must have step-by-step procedure to make it easier for employee to report their problem to avoid any cases, especially in sexual harassment case. Employee must feel free to report any behavior that makes them or others uncomfortable. Next, for the third solution is the policy of zero tolerance. Your organization should have a clear zero tolerance policy for sexual harassment. If an individual is found guilty of sexual harassing a colleague or staff member, regardless of their position within organization, they should face a swift sanction. If considered necessary, a statement should be submitted to the police. We should not give any tolerance of the problem related about sexual harassment. For the fourth solution is incorporate staff welfare into reviewing meetings and appraisal. Meeting about employee performance and achievement review are more than just a chance to provide a feedback on your worker performance. They also an opportunity offer of employee a way to report any employee who have made them or their co-worker feel uncomfortable, especially if there is a problem of workplace sexual harassment.